Welcome back. A few days ago, we saw what played out between the Alaafin and the Ooni about a chieftaincy title being conferred on a businessman. As to who can give that broad title across Yoruba land, and it's been generating controversy. The spokespersons have been at each other. This looks like an old one, new entrant situation, or an old one with new persons at the vanguard. So we brought in the man who we know can speak to this issue extensively. He's a lawyer, a former special advisor to the former governor of Ondo State. This Dr. Doyin Adebowale joins us right here in our Lagos studios. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Where do we start from? So, what do you think is playing out here? Two questions. What do you think is playing out here? And why do we always have this issue between the Alaafin and the Ooni?
Well, talking about what is playing out, I want to believe that the new person, the Alaafin of Oyo, perhaps he must have been misled into believing that that there is an extant issue to be resolved between that office and that of Ooni, because I really don't see any justification for this distraction. It is a distraction as far as I'm concerned. And now when you want to talk about, your second question is
about why this war.
Well, yeah, I'm saying that is because, with respect to most of our traditional rulers now, I think there is this misapprehension of roles. They call themselves the Ile-Ife. I think is a misnomer. It is, it is, because the letter of appointment given to you by the governor on your appointment does not tell you that you can act outside your local government. So forget about the fact that we respect them. Then when you talk about historical antecedents, we know where we are from. Then we know what used to obtain as against what we now have. But can you really talk about an empire in 2025? Can you talk about an empire? There was a time when the late Ooni, Ade Olubuse II, and the late Alaafin were in the same state, Oyo State, before the creation of Osun State. And there was this problem about who should be the chairman of the traditional council and so on and so forth, until the two states, until Osun State was created out of the old Oyo State. That problem persisted. Then we want to ask ourselves, paramount ruler over who? Over who? We as Yoruba can only accept, okay, we read in history that so person occupying a particular thing, is the paramount ruler. But we want to go by what even the British did. Shortly after the amalgamation of this country in 1914, the way they downgraded the traditional thrones into stools. When you accept a stool, you are saying that you are inferior, you are a chief. That's why you have chieftaincy law. You have chieftaincy law. And some of them even accepted to be knighted by the then queen. They knelt down to be knighted by the queen. So I don't know where they have this this idea of supremacy from.
But Doctor,
they are not superior.
It's a very interesting angle you bring in. So just to be clear, you're saying that with the governance structure we have now, the Alaafin of Oyo, the Ooni of Ife, their powers do not go beyond their local governments.
Precisely. If you want to go by their letter of, because the Ooni of Ife is in Osun State, and in Osun State they have their traditional council. Alaafin of Oyo is in Oyo State, and they have the traditional council in Oyo State. And by the Oyo State chieftaincy law, only 4 prominent obas are recognized as imperial majesties, and that is the way to massage their ego. You have the Alaafin, you have the Sanwo Ogbomoso, you have the Olubadan, then you the 4th one. I've forgotten the name of the fourth one now. There are four of them.
Yeah.
Then in Osun State, of course, the Ooni, you know, is the permanent chairman of the traditional council, but you also have other, you know, first-class obas. You know, you have Ataoja Foshogbo, you have Oluwo, you have them like that. So you cannot. The Alaafin's influence does not, you know,
stretch
beyond Atiba local government,
and vice versa.
Yes, and
so,
you know.
so the bone of contention is Yoruba land.
Yes.
Right? And people have said, oh, one is a spiritual head, one is the political head, yes. One holds the power in that sense. So that's a bone of contention. And I don't think this conversation would even resolve it. I think this is one that will be resolved. I don't know when. Yeah. But in terms of the origin of the Yoruba people, because this is also at play here.
Yes.
Where is the origin? Is it Ile-Ife or is it Oyo? So who is meant to lay claims to any title that has to do with Yoruba land?
It's Ile-Ife. There's not, you go and say Yoruba land. I think we need to do some clarification here. When you talk about Yoruba land, you know, that is a construct, a taxonomy that we all must agree to accept. And of course, we have come to accept because of the combination of several factors. You know, starting with the formation of Egbe-Modudua, you know, that was when we started to talk about accepting that all of us are now Yorubas. But before then, we were not. Until amalgamation, most of towns and villages never cooperated with one another. They never did. And if you want to go back into history, you must have read about the Kiriji War. You know, the Kiriji War. Yoruba's towns, we almost killed one another. We were dealing with ourselves. We didn't like ourselves. It's a lie. Until the 1888 treaty was signed, saying that, okay, there will be no war again. So when you talk about Yoruba, the classical Yoruba people are your people. They are not Ekiti. They are not Ondo. They are not Ijebu. They are not Egba. They are not Owo. They are not Akoko. So, and when you talk about Ooni-Alaafin and his empire, you must be able to distinguish between Oyole that fell to the Fulani in 1835 and the Oyo Atiba that we now have, where the Ooni-Alaafin himself is a refugee. Yes.
That's a strong statement.
It is. Historically, we are talking history now. Okay. We are talking history now. When Oyole fell in 1835 and Ooni-Alaafin Olu was killed, he was beheaded. They ran southwards. They ran.
For the settled in Oyo Atiba.
And those who had allowed them at Agoja, the Ogbomoso people, you know, provided the succor, needed succor for them. Don't forget the fact that the Shonwu himself, that title, belonged to the High Chief of Alaafin, but the Shonwu was a warrior, but he headed a place. The Olubadan was a warrior, was the head of the Yoruba army. The Olubadan too assisted what's called Yoruba land. And you recall that in 1840, when after the Fulani attacked, you know, Oyo Ile successfully and destroyed the place completely, in 1840, they now wanted to leave Ilorin. They wanted to come down to overrun the rest of Yoruba land. They were stopped at Oshogbo. It was Arela Tosa who sent Balogun Odenilo to go and confront them. And they were stopped at Oshogbo during the Jalumi War. How did they win? They were able to win because, you see, the Fulani came on cavalry. But the Yoruba, you know, they waited for them for the night to fall, and, you know, horses don't move at night. So that's why they pounced and they killed all of them. They killed Shola Beru and one other person who were Yoruba people who led the Fulani into our land. So after 1840, the Ibadan imperialism now started. No, Ibadan now had viceroys, Ajele, in those places where they had gone to rescue. They became oppressive, they were extorting money, extorting tributes and all of it, until the Ekiti Parapor war started and the Ekiti people revolted. Ogedengbe, Agbogungboro, now fought. Yes, and David Ibadan.
We're chuckling because there's an Ogedengbe behind the scenes. That's why we're chuckling.
So, you see, the Ibadan overlord were now routed. And the war continued until the British came, and it was dissolving the business of the British. That was why they were forced to sign the treaty at Imesile in 1888. That was when we were coming together. And so if you called an Ekiti person, a Yoruba person, we will look at you and we didn't know what we were talking about.
So Oyo is still the, in quotes now, Yoruba land.
It's Yoruba land, Oyo. Now, you see, we have come to accept that classification.
Yeah.
Since we started the Egbe Omo Odudua, you know, Igbo Unity Forum was formed around 1945, then Egbe Omo Odudua came in around 1948. So
doesn't the Alaafin then have justification for saying, well, I am the one meant to give?
He cannot, because he cannot. Where is his empire?
So the problem now is that before now he could have laid claim by the history you put out. Yes. But by the new construct of what we have today in terms of our civilization and our governance structure, and he doesn't have an empire in that sense, he cannot even overlord the Shon or the Ibadan. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying that he has no influence over anybody. He cannot act beyond Atiba local government. By the letter given to him, he cannot.
By the law?
By the law, he cannot. As a matter of fact, you know, he's under the local government chairman. He is.
So thank God you're a lawyer. So this is synonymous with every other traditional institution in Nigeria.
During the selection process in Ondo State, when the late Olowo died and the new selection process started, my office was instructed to oversee the process in Ondo State. Olowo is a powerful,
That's Olowo for?
Olowo for, yes. That's a very powerful traditional office in Yoruba land. Very, very. They see cherished tradition. They support. They observe everything. But my office was instructed.
So if this is what is obtainable, because the argument as to the fact that the issue of the Yoruba, and now this historical context puts a bit of perspective, given the wars that had happened and the dominance that had taken place, but now the governance structure has changed. Nobody has any empire anymore.
Nobody.
But it looks like a convenience of just out of respect for the institution.
Precisely.
So why do you think this continues? Given, I'm sure all sides know this. The Ooni knows this, the Alaafin knows this, everybody knows this. Why do you think this continues?
Well, I think it's because of the pervasive decadence in the system. Pervasive decadence. In the sense that most of those who parade themselves as traditional, most of them, now, and it's a very pathetic situation. Most of those who parade themselves as traditional rulers don't even know their functions. And, it appears to me that they are in a hurry to even discard tradition. They don't want to have anything to do with tradition. In fact, they are so happy when they are addressed as Oba, assistant pastor, Oba, Alaji, and all of this. That is total abnegation of traditional values.
Pardon me, they are citing, particularly the Alaafin, citing a Supreme Court judgment, which it says grants only the Alaafin the authority to give chieftaincy titles. In fact, after that 48-hour ultimatum, it was said that the Alaafin would publish that Supreme Court ruling. So this has gone to the court, and it's been said that...
Which court? Now what they are referring to happened when Alaafin Adeyemi took Ooni-Alaafin to court when he was going to confer one funny title on Tommy Kimi that had something like Yoruba land, and I said, only he could confer titles bearing Yoruba land. In a way, he was right. The Supreme Court said, yes, because you are the king of Yoruba. I'm Remo, I'm not Yoruba. I'm from Ife. I'm from Remo quarters in Ife. If an Ekiti person says Ekiti is not Yoruba, but we are accepting it. Ondo is not Yoruba. So your Yoruba land, you know, from Katunga, the old Oyole, down to your Atiba now, where you are, and perhaps your empire stretched beyond where we call Nigeria now, to Benin Republic, even to a part of Ghana. You know, those sides, that's the Yoruba land. So if you are saying that nobody should give anybody Yoruba land, yeah, you are trying to say that, okay, we should now revert to the old system. Take, for instance, if anybody, so you was talking about the treaty that is signed with the British, calling him King of Yoruba. At the time he was signing that treaty, Ijebu Awujale was the last Yoruba, the last king of those whose sources could be traced direct to Ife. Who signed the treaty with the British? 1897, Magba War. Ijebu land was the last place conquered by the British. And the rest of Yoruba land did not support Ijebu because they said they were monopolizing the slave trade. You know? So you see, the interesting thing to know about this so-called royalty is that we don't want to see, in 2025, we should not begin to look at what we divide us.
Yeah.
We should think about what should bring us together. But if they want to stretch it to a ridiculous extent, we want to go back and tell them that most of them worked against the interests of their own people. They were selling people, they were selling slaves. They were selling us.
But to be fair, I mean, you're from Ife.
No, I'm not.
Oh, I thought you said I am from Ife earlier.
No, yes, of course, originally. I'm from Ogereremo in Ogun State.
Oh, I see.
But we are from Iremo quarters.
Okay.
That was where
I just wanted to be clear.
No, I'm not. But I mean, all of us are from Ife. All of us. And you see, I couldn't take into classes because, I mean, I studied classics and law. The Greeks had the oracle at Delphi, the Pythia, who prophesied. Every Greek island, Corinth, Syracuse, Galatia, everywhere went to Delphi.
Right.
You know, so Ife is like our own, you know, the Delphic oracle that was in Greece. Ife is our own. So everybody who traces his route to Ife. You are Yoruba. It's not only in Nigeria. Go to Brazil, some parts of Mexico, Haiti, you go all around, Cuba. So, you know, so we are not talking about what is restricted to a local government. And this is, look, in 1903, let me quickly say this. I mean, you must have heard the story. When there was a problem between Ikorodu and Epe, dialectically, you know, they are very close. We call them Ijebu, but Ikorodu is Remo, Epe is Ijebu. They were fighting over boundaries. The Akaribo and the Aujale could not resolve the problem. The British governor then had to send for the Oni because he was convinced that only he could do it. And who was the Oni? The grandfather of Olubushe, Adenek Olubushe the first. In 1903, he was the one sent down, and when he left his palace, because no Oni was not leaving the palace anyhow, going to attend parties to go and be eating jollof rice. No, when he left, all other Obas in Yoruba land vacated their palaces until he returned.
Out of respect.
Out of respect. Nobody was forced. And he was invited because he was the custodian of all crowns, beaded crowns, not the ones that they now make for fashion, that they even put on the heads of their wives. Now, you know, not one person remained in the palace. They all left.
Doctor, we have to anchor now. We need a full session on all of this.
It's kind of a master class in classics and Yoruba culture. Doyin Adebowale is a former special advisor to later Kitty, and as the former governor of Ondo State, and also a scholar as well as a legal practitioner. We thank you for your insights, and I'm sure this is going to generate a lot more I don't know whether you solved more problems or you created more. I don't know which one you did.
Well, I think it is high time we spoke about all these problems.
All right. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. We appreciate it.